Welcome to Aston Means Business, a podcast from Aston Business School. My name's Steve Dyson, and I'm a journalist who's interviewing some of the UK's top business academics here at Aston. This podcast has been going since October 2019, and there are now more than 30 previous episodes that you can find and listen to simply by Googling Aston Means Business. Today's episode is all about how an Aston Business School project called Low Carbon SMEs has been helping small businesses to lower their carbon footprints. We'll be interviewing the boss of one of those small businesses later, and also the project manager of the Low Carbon SMEs project. But first of all, I want to talk to the academic who's driving this project. He's called Prasanta Dey, and he's a professor in operations and information management here at Aston Business School. Prasanta, tell us a little bit about who you are, what brought you to Aston, and what you teach and research here.
I did my first degree in mechanical engineering from Jadavpur University in India, followed by industrial engineering from Asian Institute of Technology in Thailand, and a PhD in operations management, mainly working in the project management area. Before moving to academia, I worked with oil industry for 13 years and implemented several projects across India. I teach supply chain management, project management, and quality management, and broadly I research in these areas. But these days, my research interest is more on circular economy adoption within the industry, making the supply chain sustainable, designing, implementing, planning, operations of sustainable supply chain. Our low carbon SMEs project is part of my circular economy projects, which is being funded by the European Regional Development Program.
What's the overall vision behind low carbon SMEs?
Small and medium-sized enterprises are 90% of the overall enterprise of the world. They contribute 50% of the employment and close to 50% of the GDP as well. In the UK, we have 6 million SMEs and employ 16 million people, one-fourth of the population, and contributes 47% to the GDP, and quite likely to really do more. But their environmental performance is not as impressive as their economic performance. So we require to really address that. 70% of the world pollutions are contributed by them. And mainly, if you look into the manufacturing companies, 64% of the pollutions are being done through manufacturing SMEs. But scary bit of it is only 0.4% is 0.4% of the companies having proper environmental management system. We all require to really work towards climate change issues, net zero achievement, but most of the work has been done in the larger companies. Very less work has been done in small and medium-sized enterprises. And we need to really make the smaller companies also on board in order to really achieve our target of lowering carbon footprint by 2040. Low Carbon Initiative has created quite a bit of impact. We wanted to really do more, research in the philosophical perspective by looking into the circular economy as a whole, which is more on the philosophy. And although the Low Carbon Initiative is more, a methodological intervention with small and medium-sized enterprises and allowing them really think out of the box to improve their environmental performance along with the economic performance.
It sounds very worthy, but quite ambitious. What have been the top-level results so far?
This project is funded by the European Regional Development. They have, earmarked few performance criteria. Okay, one of that is number of companies we must help, which is 165 for a range of 5 years. We started the project in 2017 and it will continue till 2023. Then carbon footprint reduction, we are likely to reduce in an average 7 ton per company, and totaling 1,155 ton for these 5 to 6 years span, and working, delivering around 18 workshop, um, reduction of the cost, okay, enhancing the performance of the company as a whole, creating jobs. These are all the different type of targets. We are also likely to really develop long-term relationship with 30 companies. So these are all the different targets we have been, given by the funding body. But we wanted to really achieve, way far than the targets, and we could really achieve a lot. And by now in 2021, middle of 2021, we have worked with more than 100 companies, and in an average we could really achieve 40 ton per company. And I will give you a perspective. 10 tons of carbon footprint is equivalent to planting 30 trees, which is equivalent to UK household carbon footprint for the year. So, and totaling, we are likely to really achieve around 6,000 ton of carbon footprint reduction, which we think that quite substantial. And in terms of the business growth, we have seen up till now 10% business growth, cost reduction around 9,000 pound per company, job creation 2 to 3. Other than that, we have seen through our research that the well-being as well as the mental health, stress-related problem has been resolved. Both presenteeism and absenteeism got reduced. So quite a bit of contribution we could really see. We came out with a website, web-based platform, digital tools, so that we could really communicate more companies. Our target is 3 times of the company that we are working with to get exposure. And you can well see that we are researchers. We produce research paper. We disseminate our findings in across the conferences. And our team people, we have around 20 academics working with us, and professionals. We develop loads of connections all across the countries, as well as bringing the industry academia together. We work constantly communicate with the policymakers. So I talk to industry academia parliament, where we could really communicate with MPs, and we try to really disseminate, and we try to really take it to the everybody, if you like. And we have developed number of training programs, not only delivering the workshop, but also the master's program, and engaging with our students. In summary, one hand, we have achieved way beyond the targets given by the funding body. On the other hand, we try to really take an extra mileage so that we could really motivate the others to really achieve it.
What's your overall approach with SMEs themselves, the individual SMEs? How do you get them to achieve their carbon savings?
This comes from a very first principle of operations management, which is process de-engineering approach, where we try to really measure very objectively the productivity of the company, which is time, cost, and quality. But what we added, what we innovated in this process, that how could we really take the carbon footprint measurement along with the productivity? That's the thing we brought in here. So what we say that both productivity and sustainability combined together to develop a framework, so that we could map the supply chain processes and find out the current state of their productivity and carbon footprint very objectively. Okay, facility wise, process wise, product wise, people wise, organization wise, everything, supply chain wise. Once we get that, and then we try to really set a target that how much we would be able to reduce it, and this help us to really benchmark while we compare the carbon footprint and productivity of the companies with other in the similar in the industry. We take the company people with us. We don't work alone. So that's the part of it. We form a team. We have altogether 12 hours assist, which we target, but we offer more hours also if desired. So after having decided the target of the reduction, we try to really find out the enablers. And these enablers, along with project plans, the procurement, design, everything will form a detailed project plan. And we try to really understand the business model of it, cost benefit analysis, and then a detailed feasibility report, get it approved, organize funding for them, and then we help them to implement the project and then evaluate their performance and come out with all those, compare all those matrices and find out that whether they have achieved whatever has been planned for. This is about the productivity and the carbon footprint part of it. But alongside, we try to really collect the information, the baseline data of their business performance and their aspiration, and then try to really go back again to them after months or year, that how have they really done. We learn and we take that part of it, how could we really help them much better to facilitate adopting circular economy. So although we are committed to our funding body to reduce the carbon footprint of the companies, but we try to really see quite robustly that what way this approach could be really made sustainable, and they are self motivated, and which they could really um, communicate to others to implement.
That's interesting stuff. Now, let's have a listen to an interview I did earlier with one of the businesses you've been working with. This was an interview with Lee Cole. He's the managing director of Paint 360, a business in Halesowen here in the West Midlands. Hello to you, Lee.
Morning, Steve. Thanks for the invitation. It's really good to get involved.
No problems at all. Let's start by finding out a bit more about you, Lee. Why and when did you start Paint 360, and what exactly does it do?
We launched in February 2013, and we make brand new paint from unwanted paint pots. I wouldn't say I'm an eco warrior, but I just don't like waste. And I thought, yeah, that's the very thing for me.
What's the size of the company in terms of your current production levels, your last turnover, and who are your customers?
We turn over in excess of 1 million with plans to grow. We have national contracts with waste management companies, large-scale decorators, and also international paint manufacturers. They provide the feedstock. We produce around 20,000 litres of paint per week. I must point out, though, this stuff is, it's good to go. There's nothing wrong with most of the material we receive. It's probably either not enough in a can to do a room, or the colour's off trend. We bulk it up and we recolour it.
Now, I understand Paint 360 is a social enterprise. How many staff do you employ, and how many have you helped into work since you launched?
We've helped 36 people into full-time employment. We employ 19 directly. And yeah, we're a social enterprise. We've been operating as a social enterprise pretty much the whole time that we've been in existence. But we only actually officially became a social enterprise in 2019. We employ young people that have barriers to employment. So we don't ask about their history when they come to us. We take them on face value. We ask them to take us on face value, and we just go from there. And some stay, some use it as a springboard, some ask for help because they want to get into something else, and we help them.
Let's think about this project called Low Carbon SMEs that you've been working on with Aston University. How has that helped Paint 360?
The support's been fantastic, and it's enabled us to upscale production, become a lot more efficient in what we do, and saving carbon internally. But we've also managed to remove some of the bottlenecks. We were operating on 2 sites originally, and the waste was separated from the paint manufacturing. And so it was always our intention to be able to try and put the sites together and to drive those efficiencies that we thought were available. And what the funding enabled us to do was to put that to test. And so we managed to move into new facilities. We managed to remove some bottlenecks out of production. We also drove efficiencies all the way through the factory in terms of making product, which allows us to make more product without increasing the staff levels. So overall, it's made us a better organisation, but it's also enabled us to make more product and to control the quality more. So it's not a simple answer, but it's all of those things in one.
And what drives you to save on carbon? I mean, why are you doing this? What's the whole reason behind it?
We have to start looking at all material as a resource. It's everybody's duty to do it. And we just can't keep chucking away stuff because we don't fancy it anymore. Net zero initiatives that have come in from the government have really helped with what we're doing because it's helping construction and facilities management's focus on that. But as a whole, we've all got to start looking at the material and things that we buy and how we dispose of it.
What would be happening to the waste paint material and the containers otherwise?
Mostly sent to incineration, believe it or not. And if not, there's still bits going into landfill.
But I thought that 80% of paint was water, so how come you burn it?
I know it's crackers, isn't it? It doesn't make any sense at all. But that's what happens. You're largely burning material that's made of water. How can that make sense?
Who buys this recycled material, Lee, and what's the knock-on effect for your customers?
Construction and facility management companies buy the most, but we're also getting quite a few inquiries now from the general public. There are really some amazing organisations out there in construction and facility management that are really raising the bar when it comes to engaging social enterprises, lowering their carbon, and exploring circular economy in its truest sense. It's really important, though, to note that we're just one cog in the wheel. Paint and paint pots are just a small amount of what's actually happening. There's a whole industry developing of other companies like us making material from other people's unwanted goods.
To get this straight in my head then, Lee, how does the waste product come to you and how does it go out as kind of usable products for the public or for businesses?
We receive material from household waste recycling centres through national waste management companies, but we also have direct contact with several large-scale painting and decorating companies. We work with many manufacturers who manufacture paint that's slightly off specification or mistinted, not quite the colour that they intended, or it's coming to the end of the sell-by date and they don't want it to turn to a waste, so they'll often pick up the phone and say, Lee, can you do anything with this material? We take it all in, we segregate it. So that's the key, really. The key with all waste is to categorise the material by the type of paint it is and also the colour. And then we go about bulking the material up, blending it together just to make sure that it's a uniform colour. And then the key really is to make a colour that people want now, because colour changes, it's in and out of fashion. I wouldn't say I'm a trendy person, so we have a whole lab of people that do that for us. It's not something I would do myself. We then sell it back out to construction and facility management companies. And we also sell to the public. So, we've got standard 15 colours now, plus your general whites, magnolias, and gardenias. And it's becoming quite interesting for everybody that's sort of looking at a new way of procuring paint.
What's the difference between the normal market price and what you're selling them?
To be honest with you, we are cost neutral for waste. So if a waste company or a decorating company is looking to dispose of paint, we're similar costs. And in terms of product that we put out in the marketplace, we always wanted to compete on price and quality with the premium brands.
Finally, Lee, what are your plans for the future of Paint 360?
It's hard to imagine this, but there are 55 million litres of paint thrown away every single year in the UK alone. And it's not unique to the UK. It's a worldwide problem. There's shortage worldwide of polymers that are used to make paint pots. So our aim is really to try and break the back of that in the UK and see if we can create some jobs for young people that would otherwise struggle. I think if we could treble in size, we still would be, I think the UK recycled 2% last year. So there's just boundless opportunities really to create more material, but also create more jobs and have that positive effect with young people. I don't have a figure in my head. I just know that I think we can get to recycling at least half of that material.
Lee Cole, the Managing Director of Paint 360, many thanks for joining us on Aston Business.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Listening to that interview with me was Jamal Lea. He's the project manager of the Low Carbon SME project, working with Professor Prasanta Dey. Jamal, that was an interesting chat with Lee Cole about the reasons why he wanted Paint 360 to be involved in the project, also what he felt he had achieved and his plans for the future. Is Lee's enthusiasm typical of the SMEs you're working with?
The SME sector can be notoriously difficult to crack. The fact that no business is the same is really an exhilarating challenge for us. So interestingly, we often see a drastic increase in enthusiasm and engagement among SME owners as we identify transformational improvements when reviewing their operations from a carbon perspective. So what I would say is the more engaged SMEs all say becoming more environmentally sustainable is important to their business, and they definitely show eagerness to receive longer term support from our academics. So from this, we have forged strong working relationships with West Midlands SMEs since the project began, developing long-term collaborative relationships with a variety of businesses representing different sectors. As a result of an ever-growing appetite for our services among SMEs, our project has formed, a real community of green-minded SMEs, providing sort of a unique platform for businesses to share best practice and innovation with one another. And we host a series of workshops where we sort of facilitate these discussions and bring together SMEs. Going back to Paint 360, it was great working with them. I would say definitely one of our most forward-thinking and environmentally conscious businesses. Paint 360 really sort of epitomizes what circular economy is all about by basing their entire business model on turning waste paint into brand new paint. So Lee Cole, the managing director at Paint 360, openly embraced the support offered by our program, showing great desire, ambition, and commitment to lowering their carbon footprint and reducing the environmental impact across their supply chain.
Let's go into a little more detail about what you actually did at Paint 360. How involved did you have to be as a team, and exactly what were the learning and progress points for the company?
Paint 360 approached us seeking support to implement energy-saving technical measures to minimize the energy it takes to manufacture recycled paint and also, and more importantly, upscale production. We first calculated their carbon footprint baseline, followed by a series of site visits to undertake a site energy efficiency audit, or what we call a diagnostic, to identify energy saving opportunities. Through this process, we provided an ERDF grant of about £12,000 towards energy efficient plant equipment. So we helped install higher efficiency blending heads, saving energy by reducing batch processing time down from 45 minutes to 30 minutes. So what this did was it helped remove a major process bottleneck to speed up production. So by doing this, Paint 360 were able to achieve an embedded carbon saving of 250 tons of CO2 in the processing of 500,000 litres of paint. And that's a huge potential carbon saving as a result of our intervention.
Paint 360 is just one company, of course, Jamal. Can you give me one or two other examples of companies you've been working with and what they've achieved in terms of lowering carbon emissions and how you've helped them to do this?
Sure. So we also helped a leading manufacturing company providing multi-axis precision engineering solutions to the automotive, aerospace, and rail sectors. So giving an idea of the background of this company, they've been established for over 40 years, again, based in the West Midlands, employing 35 staff with a turnover of around 3 million. So we assisted the company and slashed their relative carbon footprint by 60 tons, which is a 25% drop in their CO2 emissions, which is a big achievement. And we also reduced their annual energy spend by £17,000 per annum, which again is a huge financial saving. In terms of the measures implemented, we introduced routine monitoring and reviewed the energy consumption. And we also awarded a £12,000 ERDF grant, enabling energy efficiency investments in measures such as LED lighting and power factor correction equipment. And we also improved their manufacturing process, lowering the carbon footprint of their products. And to give you a second example, we also provided low carbon support to a Midlands-based sheet metal pressings and stampings company. So they employ roughly 49 employees with a turnover of around 4.5 million. To support them, we held a workshop for senior management, provided data loggers to monitor their energy consumption of individual presses and compressors. And this led to the implementation of an air leak reduction program. So those measures helped reduce their relative carbon footprint by 25%, which is equivalent to 215 tons of CO2. And this is what we're really proud of. We achieved an energy cost saving of £78,000 per annum, which is a very big saving. It's probably the biggest saving we've achieved through our direct support. So as a result, the company is now able to bid for new work because they now meet customers, suppliers' carbon and environmental requirements. And since our support, they've been able to diversify into the agricultural, machinery and rail sectors.
That's been fascinating hearing some of that detail from you, Jamal. Let me bring Professor Prasanta Dey back into the conversation. It's been a mini education listening to you earlier, talking to one of the companies you've worked with, and just now hearing from your project manager, Jamal, about other examples of how Low Carbon SMEs project is working. What's next for the project?
Well, as this project is likely to really continue till February 2023, and we have up till now we accomplished around 100 SMEs support. We would be trying to really achieve the balance 65 companies, working with them very closely. But other than that, as I keep emphasizing on, our approach is to really achieve extra mileage. We are developing a web-based platform which we haven't really promised to the company, and digital tools in order to really allow the SMEs to really make strategic decision for investing in low carbon initiative. Okay, so and laterally we would be educating the company's employees as well as managers. We will be organizing several awareness program, and the tools that we would be developing, we would be educating the managers or employees to use that tool. So we are trying to really think of how this initiative will continue beyond the project. So that's our approach. Other than that, we are developing evaluation tool so that we can constantly monitor, and we would be integrating it with our digital platform so that that tool could be really used by the companies by accessing to through our website. And the long term relationship that we are building will really continue, although we are likely to work with 30 companies, but our approach is to really make 165 companies this network, and we would be in touch with them. And we have several other funding like knowledge transfer partnership, Innovate UK, that community renewable funding. We would be continue working not only with these 165 companies, but also other companies, and not only within the West Midland and East Midland region, but beyond that. And for that, we are working with the universities, policymakers, as well as city councils. And as I told that, our program has developed number of training program for the students as well as the industry practitioners. So we would be keeping that live through our web-based platform and making it available constantly to the beneficiaries. We have created our own targets.
This is obviously great work, Prasanta, but the UK is only one country and in many ways a small one in the industrial world. What about the global impact of emissions and the international targets of achieving zero outputs? How do you think that can be achieved?
You have rightly pointed out that working with 165 companies, it's very small contribution compared to the problem that we are dealing with. Our approach is to really look into a holistically industrial supply chain, across the industries. But I would say that we have extended our work not only in the industrial supply chain, society as a whole, in different layers. We started our journey through working on how could we really replace the fossil fuel. So biomass to energy is one of our interest, and with European Bioresearch Institute, we are working very closely on contributing to developing business model so that we could really implement all the innovation related to replacing fossil fuel, and adopting more renewable sources of energy. That's the things, and we are continuing working with that. We are working across the continents, I would say, not only countries, continents. So our work in India, Bangladesh, Thailand, and very recently in Vietnam, helping small and medium sized enterprises to adopt circular economy. And I must really say that circular economy is a paradigm shift from linear, which is make, use, and throw, to circular, which is take, make, distribute, use, and recover.
Prasanta Dey, a Professor in Operations and Information Management here at Aston Business School, and Jamal Lea, Project Manager of the Low Carbon SME project. Many thanks to you both for joining Aston Means Business today.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for inviting us, and thank you for allowing us to share our project.
Thanks for listening to Aston Means Business, an original podcast series for Aston University. Remember, if you've enjoyed today's episode, you can find earlier episodes by simply Googling Aston Means Business. We've also got a podcast series called Society Matters. That one interviews top academics at Aston's School of Social Sciences and Humanities about current issues and concepts which shape our world and the way that people live. You can find those episodes simply by Googling Society Matters Aston. And if you're interested in studying anything to do with business or economics and politics, why not check out what Aston University has to offer at www.aston.ac.uk/courses. Meanwhile, we'll be back soon with more interviews with some of the UK's top business academics here at Aston. Aston Means Business. Thanks for listening.